we're finishing this unit. We're going to finish this unit today. So make sure you guys know how to do everything because we have a test. Tomorrow, this Friday, we have a test. All right, so we're finishing with geometric sequences. Geometric sequences is basically I start with a number, and in order for me to get the next number, I multiply. All right, there's something I keep on multiplying here over and over in order for me to get the next number. So let me use questions 43 to 46 for us to practice for today's review. But I'm going to review in questions 43 and 44. I'm going to review a few things in here. Now, the first thing I'm going to ask you guys is find the common ratio. So let me use red for the common ratio. Okay, so ratio, the way I'm going to find out the common ratios, given the list, I'm going to choose a number of the list divided by the previous number. So for example, I could go negative 27 divided by 9. This gives me a negative 3. My common ratio is a negative 3. Next thing I can ask you guys is the term name in the problem. Okay, for this thing, I'm going to use my first number. My first number in the list is 1. And I'm going to multiply my ratio. I find out in the previous question that my ratio is a negative 3 so many times. Because I'm going to find out the 10th number on the list, I'm going to multiply my ratio 9 times. Right? I'm always going to do one less because we start multiplying starting on the second number. So I have to do negative 3 to the 9th, right? Negative 3 9 times. That is, let's see, negative 19,683 times the number at the beginning, which is a 1. This gives me negative 19,683. Another thing I'm going to ask you guys is the explicit formula. All right, the explicit formula. First thing I see is what's the first number on the list? In this case is 1. What's the ratio? The common ratio we found out is negative 3. So I'm going to say negative 3. But as an exponent, I'm going to say n minus 1. Right? It's always 1 less. Now, in multiplication, the 1 at the very front, it is okay if we ignore it. So that's fine if you guys go 1 times negative 3 to the n minus 1, or if you guys just write negative 3 to the n minus 1. Again, multiplication, the number 1, we can always ignore it. Now, another thing I'm going to ask you guys, is the 3 terms in the sequence after the last one. So we see that on my list, I gave you guys negative 27. That's the last number. I want you to give me the next 3 numbers. We know the ratio is negative 3. So I'm going to multiply negative 27, right? The last number times the ratio. Negative 27 times negative 3 gives me 81. 81 times a negative 3 gives me negative 243. And times a negative 3 gives me positive 729. So I could ask you for the common ratio, the term name in the problem, the explicit formula, or the next 3 numbers on the list. All right, let's practice again. Let's take a look at number 44. Let's find the common ratio. I'm going to just say negative 36 divided by negative 12. Right? A numbered divided by the previous number. In this case, it just happens to be positive 3. Now, let's find the 12th numbered on the list. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to say my first number is a negative 4. And I have to multiply this by 3 so many times. I have to multiply 3 11 times. Right? I want to find out the 12th number, so I multiplied 11 times. It's always 1 less. 3 to the 11th, right? 3 multiplied 11 times. You can always use 3 carried 11, or 3 to the 11th, times a negative 4. It gives me negative 708,588. It's okay for the numbers to be big. Many of them will be big. Now let's find the explicit formula, right? In green, I'm gonna ask the explicit formula. The way I do this, I go -4, which is the first number, times 3, which is the ratio, and -1 time. And the last thing I can ask you guys is give me the next 3 terms. The last number on the list was a -108. But I know I have to multiply by 3, right? The common ratio is 3. So -108, which is the last number, times the ratio, -108 times 3 gives me -324. And then times 3 gives me -972. And I'm going to multiply this by 3 again. And my next number is -2,916. Right? I can go as far as I need. Another thing we learn is how to evaluate them. When my ratio is more than 1, the absolute value of my ratio is more than 1. My absolute value of the ratio is more than 1. The formula I use is the first number. Inside parentheses, I have 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. Now, when my absolute value of my ratio is less than 1, the formula that I use is a, the first numbered, over 1 minus r. I'm gonna be mainly using when the absolute value of my ratio is more than 1. So let's take a look. I need to find out what's the ratio. I'm gonna choose a number. Let's say 16 divided by the previous number. 16 divided by 4 is 4. The absolute value of 4 is more than 1. So I'm gonna be using the first formula. All right, the way I'm gonna do this, let's see. My first number on the list is 4. Inside parentheses, let me write 1 minus, the ratio is 4, right? So I'm going to say 4 to the 7th because I'm doing it 7 times, right? I'm adding the first numbers. And then here at the bottom, I'm going to have 1 minus r, or 1 minus 4. Let me worry on the top. There's a 4 in the outside of my parentheses, which I don't want to deal with yet. My 1 minus, I don't deal with that yet. I have to do 4 to the 7th time. So 4 multiply 7 times. That gives me 16,384. And at the bottom, I have a -3, right? 1 minus 4, I can call that -3. So again, I'm not worried about the 4 on the top. I'm just worried about the parentheses. I have a -16,383. All this over -3. I multiply this out, and my result is 21,844. Looking at question number 46, let me find my ratio first. I'm gonna go 10 divided by 2 is 5, right? The absolute value of 5 is more than 1. So the way I'm gonna do this, let me do the first number on my list is 2. And I have to go 1 minus 5 to the 9th. The 5 because that's my ratio, and 9 because I'm adding the first 9 numbers. And all this divided by 1 minus 5, right? Is 1 minus the ratio. To help out, let's see, the 2 in the front I don't want to deal with. I have 1 minus 5 to the 9. It's 195,325. All this is over -4. I do the parentheses first, times the 2, and then divided by -4. My result here will be 976,562. Make sure you guys are ready for the test. We're taking a test, the whole unit, this Friday.